What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 81 of The Unusual Suspects. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Just really, dude, we have so much to talk about the debate. We're gonna hit on 9/11. We're gonna hit on a bunch of topics. I want to go around real quick and introduce everybody. Connor's in the house, Brandon's in the house, Rob G's in the house, and David Frei, Viva Frei, is in the house. And guys, like I said, before we get into the debate and all that stuff, I just want to, because by the way, it's almost as if nobody's really talking about it. Everybody's just Kamala, this, debate, Trump, cheating, podium, this. I want to take a second and just, acknowledge all the people, all the Americans that perished on 9/11. It's the worst, to me, the worst tragedy in American history. I mean, people, you want to put RFK, I'm not trying to have a competition of who's the worst, but, 2,977 Americans murdered on our home soil. I want to give, my thoughts, my prayers to the deceased, to their families. And I don't want to start really somber, but we're definitely gonna get into this afterwards. But my heart goes out to all of them. As a New Yorker, nothing is what these people had to go through, especially in the towers. It's one of the worst things imaginable. We'll get into that later. But anyway, I love you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. And I think we just get into it. The debate last night, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I mean, what a 90 minutes of, actually it was a 3-on-1 debate, I think. I don't know what was the guy's name and the girl's name.
I made the joke it was a menage a trois, which is what Kamala is accustomed to.
Hardly Trump's first.
It was nice. Yeah. It was a joke of a moderated debate. It was 3-on-1. It was, and not to count, like, they fact checked Trump 4 times and they never fact checked her, and then apparently she lied 2 more times than Trump lied. It was just clearly a partisan It was a partisan moderated debate from the beginning, and it was obvious throughout, but frustrating to watch.
It was horrible. I don't know if you guys, my mom, Natalia's going to be showing you guys this I want to show you guys how my mom was watching the debate. She had to put a towel.
So funny.
She had to put a towel because she's like, I can't see her face. I can't hear her voice. And I was like, Mom, I understand. It was like, bro, just listening to her voice. Like, and Pat made a good point on the PBD podcast last night. Could you imagine hearing that just condescending, angry, entitled, just bitter human being?
I always wonder if it's like my own preconceived notions now that I hear that, because I so detest her. But it's irritating, the nasally, and I could hear her, the potching of her mouth throughout the entire debate. Like, and I don't want to hear that when people are talking. I want to hear the sounds of their mouth. But she had a very, if anyone was noticing, a very shallow upper chest breathing. Yeah. I think she was very nervous. The only problem is well-rehearsed, and she said the lines like Joe Biden.
Okay, and look, and I want to go around because I want to hear Rob, Connor, I want to hear you too, Brandon, and you, Viva. First of all, okay, and I get it. Trump is a gangster. He'll debate anybody, anytime, anywhere. He doesn't care. He's freaking 8. What is he, almost 80? Is he 80 yet?
Just about. 78?
78 years old. But the guy is a freaking machine. I would never, ever agree to a leftist legacy mainstream media fake news BS without ever again. I'd be like, you know what? We're going to have somebody from the left and somebody from the right. I understand that you want to go into the lion's den, but as we saw, it was as if somebody saw that and they didn't know any better. You know what they'd say? Obviously it was 3-on-1. It kind of feels, because look, guys, okay, this is my analogy with Kamala Harris. If you have failed every single test for 4 years in school, but for some reason the school keeps you in, just F after F after F, then you go to take the SATs and you do, oh my gosh, she scored at least, what, a 1,300, let's say a 1,200. She did great. In your head, I would be like, in my mind, I'd be like, wait a minute, something's off. Okay, yes, she had some time to practice, but wait a minute. It almost feels like you knew what was coming. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not. There was a whole, dude, that night, all night yesterday, there was this thing that she had
it's a rumor that she had an earbud that was helping her speak. Apparently, it's not an earbud. It's a Tiffany's 18 karat with 9 to 10 millimeter South Sea pearl earring. I just want to know how much it cost for the woman who, middle class, she knows what it's like to wear $3,000 earrings now.
But here's the thing. Would you, honestly, Dave, and I want to ask Rob, all you guys, would you trust, no. Anybody on the left? How about this? In the UFC, when you come out to fight, they do a pat down and go around. If you guys check it, they look in your ears and to make sure you don't have anything. I'm not hearing devices, but any weapons. If I was I'd be like, no, I want to make sure, I want to inspect. This is all a leftist ABC. They're all on the same freaking team. I don't trust it. They even had her podium shortened so she doesn't look shorter than Donald Trump. Did you know that? Her podium was smaller. Rob, what do you think?
All that we've heard from the left, it's very odd. The weird pivot that I've seen on social media has been Donald Trump has dementia, which is a very odd spin considering your candidate and the current president of the United States arguably has some type of cognitive decline. But the entire time that we were sitting here questioning President Joe Biden's cognitive abilities leading up to the debate, we were all crazy right-wingers and all that stuff. But then since the debate, since Biden dropped out, now the focus has been Donald Trump's too old to be president, which is odd considering he's younger than the current president, the person you guys voted for. Yeah. You can no longer look at what happened last night with Donald Trump and say that that guy is missing a beat. He's not all there. He's in cognitive decline. Did any of you guys see any presence of a slip-up, a mental issue, a stutter? Did anybody see anything from Trump yesterday that showed that he is not all there cognitive?
Absolutely not. He stayed Bro, I love the fact that he's just, by the way, he's not giving her anything. He's just looking, like laughing, looking straight ahead, looking at the moderators. He never gave her love. He kind of slowed down, but everything was on point. He knew what he was saying. Yes, some of it was repetitive, but people have to understand it, and everybody at home. He went from going, Joe Biden was the president. He's been going after him. He has everything. He has all the talking points because it's case study versus case study. They do the coup. They kick him out because, the assassination attempt didn't work. So then they bring in Kamala. He really doesn't have that much because when he says she really didn't do anything. Besides the border, she doesn't have any say in anything else. Am I right?
She ruined the country, but along with Joe. But just to get back to a point, Rob, you mentioned, the accusations that Trump is now demented, where they go from saying those accusations are conspiracy theory ageist to making them themselves. It's the iron law of woke projection. All that they do is accuse others of what they're guilty of or what they're doing themselves. When Kamala Harris looked at Trump and she says, your rallies are so boring, people are walking out. No, they're not, but they sure as hell are walking out. The very few that show up to Kamala rallies are walking out immediately after the music is over, and they know it. So they accuse their adversaries of being that way. But no, he's sharp as a tack. People are going to listen to this, or at least the lefty haters, and say, cry more, guys, blah, blah, blah. Noting that this was a partisan hit job on Trump doesn't change anything. Nobody's going to look back at this and get anything other than the sound bites that they wanted to get out of it. Nobody's going to study this as a masterclass in debate. And in a month, it'll be forgotten.
Of course.
Save and except for the sound clips, which I think some of them are going to age a little better than we're given credit for now.
How crazy, and I'm going to come to you, Connor, and then you, Brandon. How crazy was it, Connor, that you saw when Trump debated Biden and it was Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, bro, they stayed quiet. They didn't interrupt. Not one time. They basically put him out like a sacrificial lamb, and they were just like, Joe, go. And Joe Biden fell apart before our eyes, right? Then cut to this one. Who are the two people?
David Muir and Lindsay
something.
I can't remember her.
You should call him
name.
David
Lindsay Davis.
Manure.
Yeah.
Lindsay Davis. By the way, they interrupted 9 times. It was the worst, bro. If I was Trump, I would have called. I'm shocked he didn't call it out. But Connor, what do you think?
Just to clarify, a few weeks ago, Lindsay Davis compared Donald Trump to the KKK. So everybody knew going in that these were not going to be fair.
So why does he approve it? Why does he accept it?
I think he believes correctly that the American people are entitled to a presidential debate, and the Democrats will never agree to one that's not on one of their networks. If Trump tried to get Fox to host a debate, the Democrats wouldn't show up. Harris said no. So what's to be done about that? If he wants to have a debate, he's got to go somewhere.
Lindsay compared him to Kim and Khloe Kardashian.
Yes,
but Bing. I missed the timing for that joke, but the joke is.
So let me ask you a question, O'Connor. If he doesn't accept that debate and says, well, you're not doing it on Fox, I'm not going to do it on yours, who does it hurt more, Trump or Kamala?
I mean, that's the thing. Neither one of them really stands to gain much from the debate. It's not like these things move the needle overly much. Maybe you'll sway a few independents, but it's been the same since 2016. Who doesn't have an opinion on Donald Trump already? Who needs more information before they make a full decision? If you haven't decided the Biden-Harris administration is screwing us constantly, time to move over to the other side by now, you're not going to. Mm-hmm. There's not much else left to see there. So I think the reason they're having these debates with ABC is because he wants to do the correct thing, which is at least engage with his competition one time. Because if he doesn't, look at what the Harris campaign did when the debate was, they were still trying to work out the agreement for it. Oh, look, he's dodging debates. Hey, you got something to say to me, Trump? Come say it to my face. You guys ducked out of like 6 different debates before you finalized this one, but who cares?
This is the insidious nature of the MSM, bias against Trump. He had nothing to gain from the debate last night. Kamala only had that to gain from the debate. She really had nothing to lose from the debate. She goes out and performs like an idiot. It confirms what people already think. But Trump's issue is that he has nothing to gain from the debate, and he has everything to lose by not doing the debate. Because if he goes and does the debate, he'll gain nothing. It doesn't change anything. He can only lose. If he doesn't do the debate, they'll call him a coward, a debate dodger, and she'll go and continue to give. I mean, she should give more of those scripted interviews with CNN because that still came off terribly.
Oh, horrible.
And but it's a catch-22 for Trump. If he declines because of whatever, they'll use that against him.
Yep.
And if he shows up, it's a 3-on-1, and they just want to help her get whatever sound bites she needs so they can run with him for the next week and say she crushed him.
What do you think, Brandon?
I think he actually did have something to gain from this. And yeah, sure, the debates are inherently flawed the way they're set up right now. And yeah, there's a bias against him if he's going to be on ABC. But I think he could have destroyed her in this debate if he just focused on the right thing. So I don't know why he didn't mention the price controls at all, or the tax and unrealized capital gains, because those are both unmeasurably insane things that people can't even comprehend the consequences of it. But also, go ahead.
Brandon, so whose decision is that? Oh, that's his debate prep people then, right?
Yeah.
His people that are helping him. It's like, bro, you have to say that. And I get it, bro. Like, you're up there for 90 minutes to memorize everything. But anytime they talk about economy, that should be the first thing that you say is she said this.
And that's something that's applicable to everybody, too, because there's never been a time where the government put in price controls and it hasn't resulted in shortages and hyperinflation. And then with unrealized capital gains, anybody who owns a house, that could apply to. So, I know the average person doesn't understand that, but it's as simple as if your house is worth $100,000, it goes up $25,000 in a year. You pay taxes on the amount that your house went up in value, but there's no guarantee that you're going to maintain that value in your house because the economy fluctuates.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's retarded.
The problem is, though, it's a fair point. Those are easy things to nail. To go to the price controls, he did, mention that her parents are Marxists. To say taxing unrealized capital gains can, he said it can turn America into Venezuela in no time. The question is always the thornier or the more meticulous debate questions. Is it worth debating them on stage when you don't have the time to go into them? Or just go with the talking points. She's a Marxist. She'll turn America into Venezuela, and she's allowed a full invasion with illegal immigrants.
I think that kind of just makes him sound like a name caller, though, because, yeah, sure, it's true, but it does. I don't think it resonates with the people it needs to resonate with. I mean, shockingly, Adam made a great point last night that
so stupid.
So no, he did, because he was saying that Trump keeps just pandering to the MAGA people that he knows are going to vote for him, but he's not really putting in the work with the people who are on the fence, undecided. So I was really upset when they asked him, would you veto a national abortion ban? And he didn't answer the question. Like, yes, Trump's answer that you should veto a national abortion ban, because that's what they're hammering you with more than anything else. They're saying that you're for Agenda 25. They're saying that you would do a national abortion ban if you had the ammo to do it. But I don't think he would actually want to do that. So I don't know why he was afraid to say that he wouldn't do it.
But Brandon and I were sitting there fact-checking off stage while you guys were watching the debate last night. And by the way, shout out to the 147,000 people who watched live. That was
Robin, what was the
incredible.
stat on that?
So we were last night the 4th largest live stream in the world. It was ABC, NBC, PBS, and then PBD. And the coolest part is, out of all the independent broadcasters that I could find, our closest competition, like an independent guy that doesn't have a network behind him, had 45,000 people watching live. So our biggest competition, we 3x'd.
Hell yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Who was that? And who was the 45,000?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
But it's somebody we have a relationship with. It just shows the power of PBD, valuetainment, and our audience. So thank you to everybody who decided to tune in and watch along.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but Brandon and I were off stage doing some fact checking and gathering data during that. And when the subject of the abortion ban came up, I leaned over and we had a little conversation, because I think if Trump says, I'm going to veto a federal abortion ban if it comes to my desk, I think he is aware that his pro-life base would be really mad at him. I think he would be concerned he's alienating part of his base if he says that.
But you really think there's people out there who are conservatives that would not vote for him just because of that?
If you look at, there's a very large vocal segment of the pro-life movement that is, we are going to vote against anything that isn't an immediate federal ban right now. And this is a debate you see plays out online a lot, where people will say anytime Trump says anything other than abortion must be banned at the federal level instantly, oh well, I'm going to have to vote for somebody else, or I'm going to withhold my vote from him because he's not pro-life anymore.
I feel like
he's the most pro-life candidate, but this is the strategy that they fail to see, is that you have to win. You have to actually get pro-life policies elected in order to succeed.
I think it's a net gain. I think it's a net gain if he went out and said that. If he said that he would, in fact, veto a federal abortion ban.
And I don't disagree with you, but I think
independents and the liberals who are just citing that as the main reason why they're voting against him, I think that's more important than anything from this.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I'm just trying to think of the argument before I say it, but I can't do it quickly enough. Couldn't he not just justify and say, I would veto it because it would violate the Supreme Court ruling that kicked it back to the states? Like, that's why either the answer didn't come out properly, in that when he says I wouldn't have to,
right.
Because it's not, because the Supreme Court has already set the law or interpreted the law and they kick it back to the states. The federal can't come in and say, well, now we're going to have a federal abortion ban that violates the Supreme Court ruling. And so, the answer could have been, yeah, I'd be forced to veto it because the Supreme Court has already ruled it's a state issue. Now take with it.
But then you get into the malicious motivation behind the question, because he said I wouldn't have to, it's a state's thing, multiple times, but they kept pushing him on it. Like, but if it came to your desk,
that's a gotcha question.
That's
how is it going to get to my desk? The feds are not going to put forward a bill that violates a Supreme Court ruling. Although that being said, you can legislate what the courts have interpreted to be X or Y, and then legislate differently to remedy a ruling that doesn't reflect what the population wants. So I guess then the question could be asked. But I mean, the answer should have been it's not going to happen because the Supreme Court ruling has already issued that, and if it comes by way of legislation, we'll deal with it then.
But you know what the headline is now, though? The headline is Trump refuses to answer question of whether or not he would do veto a national abortion ban, and that's exactly what they wanted. It was a gotcha question.
Yeah, but flip side is, had he answered, yeah, I'll veto it, the headlines would have been Trump violates the core principle of conservatism, and if he said I won't veto it, then it's a lose-lose-lose depending on the framing of the media.
So you think you don't think it'd be a net gain for him if he answered the question saying that no, yes, he would veto it? My gut tells me it'd be a net gain.
The clear answer would have been it's a non-issue because the Supreme Court has already ruled, and it's a state issue now, and I have nothing to do with it.
I like the first way you said it, where you said like, yes, I would have to, because then they can't say he didn't answer it, but he's also backing it up with the law.
Yeah. I do like when he pinned it on her and said, what's the cap? If you're pro-abortion and you're pro a woman's right to choose, what's going to actually be the cap? Is it 7 months, 8 months, 9 months? What is it? Tell us that. And she couldn't do that.
Because anybody who says there's no late-term abortion or abortion to the point of birth happening in the country is lying to you.
Okay, but explain that to somebody like me who doesn't understand. When I continue to hear that and I go, I don't understand what this means. So when people are saying post-birth abortions, they're saying that the babies are being born full term and then they're being murdered after that?
So there's such a thing as partial birth abortion, where they basically induce the baby to kind of be born and then kill it as it's on its way out. This very late term stuff.
It's the worst thing you can possibly.
And there's other ones.
You are killing a fully formed child.
And there's other ones, Rob, where I've seen the reenactment where they go in the womb and they start chopping off body parts to get it out of the mother. Let's not pretend as if this doesn't happen. I'm sick and tired of people going, no, we're just talking about like 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. No, there are late term abortions. Period. Like what the hell are we talking?
When viability is 26.
I think the youngest they've ever been able to deliver a baby and keep it alive is 22 weeks now. And that's only with, very elaborate medical processes. And
but the baby
it's not fully formed
yet. But
yes.
like, okay,
well,
guys.
no, viability, it will survive with medical care. I mean, that's
and is it, okay, and I get it. This is such I would say this is one of the main. I understand economy is number one, but when it comes to my body, my choice, and like, by the way, and I told you guys this. I think I told you guys this story. It's your body, your choice. But what if a girl comes to you, Dave? What do you do if you're dating a girl and she out of nowhere goes, "Hey, by the way, I didn't want to say anything, but you got me pregnant, and I just had an abortion and thought you'd want that." Like, wouldn't you be like, "Wait, time out. You had an abortion. You didn't tell. You got pregnant. You didn't tell me because you thought I wouldn't want to know, and then you just killed it." So now, where in that situation, where's my body, my choice? It's like, wait a minute, I'm in there too, right? Am I losing my mind?
I wouldn't have to answer that question because I would not have sexual relations with a woman that I was not.
I go to hell,
intimately-
David. No, I'm joking. Well, like in that situation, and I understand, guys. And I said this on a previous podcast. If I was Donald Trump, I would say, okay, listen, hey, to anybody out there that wants to have an abortion, do whatever you want to do. You do you. We're not going to put limitations or whatever. But just an FYI, you're going to have to answer to God at some point because everybody's like, oh, it's a gray area. It's a black and white. How do you feel just to kill a baby? Just to kill it? Because you know what? It's not going to fit your lifestyle. And then again, it's like, at what week does it feel something? At what is it conception? It's such a topic where there's no one. It's like the Israel-Palestine conflict. There's no right. Nobody has a definitive thing because you can't answer.
No, but I do think when it comes to this, like 90% of the people are within a certain window of a
But who's
framework.
to say the window? It's like, is it still killing something that God wants?
Well,
to come
I
out?
think even within the window, most reasonable. Let's just say the window ends at viability would be on the high end of what most people would agree to, but some people say a little earlier, heartbeat, brain activity. People would say it's not a good thing. It should never be celebrated. It's a necessary evil because if you ban it from conception, women are going to go do terrible things to get it. There are certain situations in which you can't compel someone to do this. And so necessary evil, like Bill Clinton said a while back, it should be rare, safe, and there was a third one. Rare, safe, and legal.
Yep.
But when it comes to what they claim does not exist, the late-term abortions, partial birth abortions exist. It's horrific beyond words. And then once you understand that there's a sort of a black market that's been built into this ecosystem of fetal tissue experimentation,
Stem cell,
and then you realize, like, holy crap! Once you the reason why they might be promoting this as the litmus test and like no limits, my body, my choice, is because of this black market or even gray market that has been established, and there's a lot of money to be made, which is pushing a lot of activist organizations to push this because they've got a financial interest behind all of it, and it's heinously disgusting, which is why you just establish reasonable limits that 90% of the people agree on and then just run with that.
Planned Parenthood has been outed like 3 or 4 times over the last 10 years for harvesting and selling baby body parts.
I've
and
seen
organs.
the videos.
There was one guy, a journalist in California, who exposed high-level Planned Parenthood people laughing and joking about the amount of money they make off of selling kidneys, livers, everything harvested from aborted fetuses. He put the video out and has spent the last 10 years being prosecuted by California attorneys. And who is in charge of prosecution in California? Kamala Harris, as Attorney General, oversaw that prosecution before she left to go be in the Senate.
Wow.
So this is her legacy on that particular issue. And for Trump to not take a position on it, or rather kind of fumble the moment to take a position on it, I think that was kind of the worst possible scenario. There was a strategy to be present for saying, I would veto it. Then that could potentially do damage just as much if he says he wouldn't veto it. I think the best explanation is I wouldn't have to. It's a state's thing, but it's a gotcha question, so there's not much to be done about that. But the thing they kept hitting him on is a confirmed fact. Governor Ralph Northam.
We have that video. We have that video lined up.
He talked about how if a baby survives a botched partial birth abortion, then it will be kept comfortable until the parents make a decision, and then they would possibly proceed with terminating the pregnancy. I believe we have that slide somewhere.
It's somewhere in there.
It looks like people doing a podcast on a radio station.
Yeah, and Dave, you can keep talking, and then
I know when we find it, when we get it, but also there was the bill in California that there was a bill in California that said we will not do investigations into perinatal deaths that occur within 30 days of I want to say of birth. And then people are like, well, that just legalizes infanticide. And I'm like, no. It's only perinatal deaths occurring from stuff that was done while in utero, which still does not answer the question and still does not contradict what we're going to watch right here.
And so this is not the current. This is the previous
governor
who got in a little bit of trouble when this aired.
Yeah. So
and they want to memory hold this. Like, this is why I say this needs to be shared, because every time I share this, people are like, holy crap, I never heard this, because the media wants to memory hold the fact that this guy actually said it. And it seemingly went under the radar after he said it.
And Connor, can you read what Jerry DeLevy wrote up there, Connor? Can you read it?
Virginia Governor Ralph Northam talked about the abortion bill pushed by delegate Kathy Tran.
Right there.
Yeah. And described a late-term abortion. The infant would be delivered, kept comfortable, and resuscitated if that's what the mother and family desire.
So the baby comes out. and they have a moment, and then they could
They
kill it
resuscitate it to have the
to have
moment.
okay, can you play
We'll save its life.
Okay.
While you make up your mind of whether you want us to kill
Jeez.
it.
All right, yeah, let's play this.
No exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what
Bring
the
it back to
mother
life?
and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
Discussion.
But again,
Blown
we
blown
want
out of
the
proportion.
government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
So,
And do you
yeah,
think
you pause it
multiple
now.
physicians-
we got to the essence of it. He's a doctor, by the way.
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor.
And by the way,
he also wore
You know what he's not
blackface
saying though?
and-
What?
I mean, it's eugenics without calling it eugenics. I mean, I get the argument for if earlier in the thing, if there's a severe deformity and it's going to be a terrible life and expensive and cumbersome, then yeah, okay, tragic. But maybe the parents make that decision, like it's just not going to be a conducive life for the kid and the parents. But I mean, he's talking about eugenics there. He's saying if they find a deformity or something wrong with it in the late term, then
Yeah, but that's where I take issue. A lot
Right.
of abnormalities and issues you discover very
Exactly.
early on.
Exactly.
What a third trimester.
No.
What that means basically is someone who might have been pregnant, not taken any form of precautions to go to a doctor early on in the third trimester, 6 months to 9 months, and they say, "Oh, you didn't know this, but your kid's got X, Y, and Z," and then we're gonna have a late term abortion if the baby or the fetus survives the late term abortion and is viable after. We're going to decide what we do with it.
Yeah,
and it's a man who shouldn't be telling a woman. This has to do with a human life at that point.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
child.
you're-
It's like a child sacrifice at this point.
Yeah, bro,
Like, it's so crazy. You have to wonder: is this a child sacrifice ritual from back in the
Brandon,
day?
it's called murder. The thing is out and breathing, and then he goes, and then we'll resuscitate it to think about if we're gonna kill it. I don't understand.
Keep it comfortable.
Comfortable.
What did we think? Why would he even say? What do I think you're gonna like put it on a bed of nails or something, or deliberately torture it?
Yeah, we're gonna put it in a warm
No,
room.
we're
But
only
it's
going to
demonic.
torture it
It's
to death
demonic.
at the end once they've made a decision. And he even goes with the line of, you don't want the government involved in these.
Yeah.
I want the government involved in enforcing laws against murder. That's
Yeah.
like your one friggin' job.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, don't do anything else.
Yeah, what do you think,
Because
Rob?
pretty clear cut.
I think part of the problem with this conversation is that we're five guys talking about whether or not we agree with abortion or not. This is not in our wheelhouse. Last I knew, you don't have a uterus, so none of us can carry a child. I think one of the reasons why I did not like J.D. Vance as the pick for Trump's VP was because I felt he needed a woman as his VP pick. And as much as it's DEI or whatever you want to call it, to combat this narrative that we shouldn't be talking about this because we're old white men telling women what they should do with their bodies.
Connor's Jamaican.
Okay,
I'm
correct, and he's Canadian.
Well, no, but
Syrian.
I'm gonna put that's the lingering traces of being a lefty Democrat that are coming out right now, and I say that tongue in cheek.
Well, let me finish
Yeah.
before I can. All right.
Liberal.
Okay. Whether or not you agree with me, this is optics. This is not the people that are voting on this issue are basing their vote on one issue. And what's crazy is this is going to be the issue that decides this election.
Yep.
It's not the economy. It's not the economy. It's not inflation. It's not immigration. None of those matter, because what this is going to come down to are the swing states deciding on abortion. And I think the biggest thing that Trump could have done is picked a Tulsi Gabbard, picked a, God, I know that she's not pleasant on the eyes, but Huckabee.
Oof.
Bring somebody in with political background who is well qualified for the job, but who also serves in the optics that, hey, we can have this discussion about abortion because it's not a man telling a woman what to do. It's an administration that has a female lead that is also giving their opinion. And
say what you're going to say, because
No, you go ahead.
Because I see your point, Rob. I agree optics are incredibly important. But what you have to understand is that even if Trump had appointed a woman to be his running mate and elevated the most pro-life woman he could find, who talked about how great motherhood was.
I said
or,
woman.
You know,
just need a woman out there, because when we're having this conversation, again, it's 5 dudes talking about
someone with a uterus who is therefore allowed to have an opinion on the issue, as they say.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of terms to use to tear them down. Like, oh, if Trump wants to prove he's not a racist, so he makes a black guy his running mate. Oh, that guy's an Uncle Tom. That guy's a race traitor. That guy's a sellout. He appoints a woman to be his running mate. Oh, she has internalized misogyny. She's actually secretly a woman-hating woman.
Yeah.
That they have all the frameworks set up to tear these people down, because it's not really about optics for them. It's about opinions.
Okay, but for the people, it is about the optics. And the people, my wife, would look at this and go, oh, okay, well, he's got a woman. And maybe he doesn't hate women. Maybe he's not so, like, the whole narrative from females that don't like Trump is he's mean to women, he's trying to control their bodies. How do you counteract that narrative? I know it's Monday Morning Quarterback, and it doesn't matter now to have this conversation, but how do you counteract that narrative? I feel like having a woman high up in your administration would have helped.
He's literally married to a immigrant, and they call him a misogynist and an anti-immigrant. I mean, there is no placating people who will view things with that framework. And I jokingly say, I understand what you mean in terms of it being optics and not your actual thought process. At a given point in time, you flip the middle finger to this identity politics. I don't need to have a dog to know that animal abuse should be illegal. I don't need to have a uterus to know that life deserves to be protected. And then the only question is, I don't need to be a woman to know when life becomes life. And anybody who says that can go suck a lemon, because I'm being polite because I don't want to swear on somebody else's channel. But they can go suck a lemon. And you say, I liked J.D. Vance's pick because it's a middle finger to identity politics. There's nothing he can do to bend over hard enough to placate the mob.
But
he's married to an immigrant, and he's still a misogynist and a xenophobe.
There's so many stupid people out there, though, that optics do control.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that's the tragedy of it.
And mind you, not to interrupt, because I want you to talk. I 100% get where you guys are coming from, but what he's saying is this is a chess match, and the people that are sitting at home that are just in the middle rural town in the back going, oh, they're all men talking about women. What he's saying is, bro, this is like I'm with Rob in the fact that Tulsi Gabbard, besides being a woman of color, besides being an active duty lieutenant colonel who served in Iraq, who fought in war,
former
Democrat in the shit, and then when that comes up, it gives them some a little bit more substance. And I understand where you guys are coming from 100%. How many times have I said if he ran into a burning building and saved 20 kids, but he only saved 5 black kids, they'd be like, oh, look at this racist. He didn't save 6 black kids. That's exactly what they do. But the optics with these sons of bitches, that's what it comes down to, bro, is what it looks like. Because as much as they talk shit, there's not 2 white men telling them what to do with their uterus.
Vinny, I think 100% of liberal girls are convinced right now that he's going to do a federal abortion ban. Anybody
bullshit.
I talk to, they say, they're like, no, look, Project 2025, he's going to do a federal abortion. I'm like, no, he's not. He's never said that, but the optics have him.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would dare argue that what's Kellyanne Conway's daughter's name?
Claudia.
I would dare say that Claudia Conway's not going to say, that's a woman who said that. I'm going to change my views. The people who are celebrating abortions late term and no limits whatsoever, it doesn't matter if it comes from the most eloquent, beautiful woman on earth. I say it is a chess game, and this is the 4D level chess. It's middle finger to your identity politics. We're going to go with policy, and you'll grow up and get over it.
And go, Rob, say your piece. I want to show some videos.
Yes, while I agree 100%, I'm not for, let me be clear, I'm not for identity politics.
He's a commie. He's a commie.
I am. My point is, as much as I want to give the middle finger to identity politics, I feel like there is, at the end of the day, right? I remember playing soccer as a kid, and I'd watch people. You ever watch soccer? They'll pass the ball back and then go forward. You ever seen that?
Yes.
Where the defense will pass it back to the goaltender, and then the goaltender will kick it forward. And I never understood until I realized sometimes you have to go backwards to move forward, right? It's chess. This is a game where, unfortunately, I feel like if you take a step back, right, and you said, hey, I don't want to lose. This is a war that we're currently in. This is a battle.
Yeah.
And it really is. When we talked a few weeks ago, Humberto or somebody on this podcast said, I don't believe that the United States can survive a Kamala Harris presidency. And I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So at this point, do you have to cater a little bit and give a little bit and take a step backwards and maybe step back on identity politics and allow it a little bit in order for the optics to allow you to have a level playing field where you're catering to that middle ground?
Yep.
That is, yes, I agree. There are people that are out there celebrating late-term abortions. You look at the DNC, you look at the people going out and celebrating, it's my right to choose, and it's like, that is their platform. That is, Pat talks about a sword to die on. That's their sword to die on. You're never going to convince those people. But I feel like there's a lot of people that are in the middle. My wife, my wife's friends, my wife's sisters, who are kind of one way or the other. And if there would have been a female on that ticket, I think it would have made them lean towards the side of Trump as opposed to being stuck in the middle. That's all.
Yeah, and that way, real quick question, and kind of do this because I want to go. When did he choose J.D. Vance? Was it after Biden dropped out?
Right before
No,
RNC.
Oh, right before.
It was the
So
day after the assassin. It was the day after the
I
assassination.
think if it happened before that, like if this happened before, Trump would have picked a female. I think Trump would have picked the Tulsi Gabbard.
If what happened?
If he knew he was going to go up against what's her name,
Kamala.
Kamala, he would have gone Tulsi 100%. That's what I
Tulsi could not have been a wrong pick, but JD is a phenomenal pick.
No, he's
I don't
amazing.
disagree.
He's
I
great.
I want a woman.
I
for this
kinda
argument.
disagree.
I do too, but Connor, do yours because I want to
But
move
yeah,
on.
real
like
quick,
Katie.
Nat, if you could go to the very last slide in our presentation, I just want to inform you guys about where my opinion on this particular issue is coming from. Just real quick, I was going to bring this up later, but this is the perfect segue into it. I wanted to introduce the new member of the Unusual Suspects cast who will be joining us shortly. There we go.
Connor's
I'm gonna
having
be
a
dad.
baby.
That
Let's
baby-
go.
I was wrong. You do have a uterus.
That
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Connor, if that's his penis,
That's his penis, man.
holy-
Looks just
bigger
like
than
me.
his hand.
By the way,
Look at his arm.
that joke will never get old. Everyone, because by the time someone has a baby, they're so happy. You make that joke about the foot
Guys,
being a penis, and
and
everyone
I want to say
laughs.
something. That's Connor. Congratulations. That's so. How many weeks?
I believe we're about 12 now.
12.
So this is where a lot of my hard stance on this is coming from. This is, as Rob and Viva can attest to, when you become a dad, things sort of clarify for you where you stand on a lot of things in the world. So that's my motivation now. This is what I'm fighting for. This is
For
basically
me, it
what
was
it's all about.
It was just
And guys, we
sex.
don't have-
Everything changed the
Oh,
first time
well,
I had
there you
sex.
go.
It was glue.
Oh, we don't have his QR code, but you guys, Connor Walcott is on Manect. If you want to go congratulate Connor, what?
I thought you were going to say Connor's baby's on my neck.
Yeah.
You could talk to the baby.
Well, yeah. But if you want to go on there and give Connor a shout out, go on his Manect. If you haven't downloaded that,
Connor, this is going to be your first kiss.
This is my first.
All right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
You've got to watch the delivery. Like at one point in time, there's going to be your wife with a human head protruding from her vagina. There will be
Why?
3 people right there, and it's straight out of Alien.
Or it could go the other way, which I did. My first was born that way. No, my son, he went to the left and he hit my wife's hip and they had to cut her open. So they gave her
boy.
the old convertible, which is the C-section. And dude, they're like, don't look. And I was like, well, because they put you behind a big curtain.
I don't-
And I couldn't help. And then you just see organs. And you're like,
Oh my God.
Ugh. So congratulations. It'll be a wonderful moment.
Thank you very
Congrats.
much. But this is the whole thing about this is a life. This is something I am responsible for bringing into the world, and that's where my opinion on this issue comes from. It's my job to defend it now.
When my wife gave birth, and I had a GoPro, so I put the GoPro
course you did.
on the utensil tray, like right between the legs, so I can do a time lapse. And then the doctor comes in, and they're like getting all their utensils. Like, what is this? And I was like, that's my camera. It's like, you can't put that here. This is all sterile. I was like, can I put it on your head? And they didn't like that.
Yeah, I was different. I didn't film the conception. Or I didn't film the birth. I filmed the conception. It was not.
I was like, hey, 9 months, baby. All right, you guys are all right. So listen, I want to show a couple of videos from last night. The first one is RFK, and he's basically talking crap about the monitors, the moderators. I'm sorry, from ABC. Go ahead, Nat, play it.
Fortunately, we had moderators who were clearly biased, who were constantly fact-checking Donald Trump. None of these kind of whoppers that the vice president was saying, and none of her failure to really explain that, answer that first question, that very, very critical first question. They simply sat there on the sidelines and allowed that to pass.
I mean, it's clear. It's clearly obvious that they were freaking just.
The problem is, though, when people complain that the moderators were fact-checking Trump, people are going to say, "Oh, would you have a problem with fact-checking Trump?" And on the one hand, they weren't even accurately fact-checking him. It would be one thing if he said something that was an egregious falsehood.
Yeah.
But they were commentating on it, and they were debating the issue with him. And
it was a debate.
So they either don't do it as they agreed to do under the terms of the debate, or you do it with both, and you have something like a Joe Rogan back and forth exchange. It was one-sided to the point where it was unfair, and their fact checks were false. When Trump made the comment about the Haitian aliens eating pets or eating animals,
which is true.
Wait, it's at the very least unconfirmed. I appreciate there's some false stories going around, like the woman who ate the cat. By no means was Haitian or Haitian immigrant, apparently, but it's at the very best a rumor right now, and it's much more than a rumor when you have people complaining in town hall meetings.
No, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so that's my point. Why I'm saying it's factual. Why would three people go to a town hall and say,
black guy, by the way,
a black guy and two white girls, and another one was on like five of them I saw on X going, guys. Across the street, they had a cat or a dog, but hanging by the branch, and they were like filleting it like you would fillet a deer. Who randomly just starts making up stories like that? The town of Springfield, Ohio, has a estimated population of 60,000?
58,000.
20,000 illegal, TDS, Haitians, because they're having problems in Haiti, so they think they're not technically illegal because they're fleeing somewhere that's bad, and my heart goes out to them. But they're just dropping them off in the town. It's not fair for the town. It's not. You're putting a hardship on a small town, and the people are complaining.
This is actually our next story that we'll get into.
Okay, we'll get
debate coverage, but
we'll get into
back to RFK's point about them fact checking. Like you said, Viva, there's nothing wrong with fact checking Trump. If you want moderators to jump in real time and say actually that's false. Then why did nobody call Kamala Harris out on bringing up the Charlottesville very fine people hoax
Suckers
again?
and losers, which
it has been debunked so many times that even Snopes now rates it completely false.
The bloodbath she mentioned.
That's right.
Fake.
The bloodbath.
Bloodbath for the automotive industry.
Or fracking, too. There's a video of her saying, I'll never be in favor of fracking in 2020. And the last thing she literally said, in 2020, I said I was in favor of fracking.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, guys. And that's the point which Rob was talking about. Rob, when you said it's about, those people and the optics and whatever, do you realize how many people are not like us and they don't have to research
the majority.
Fact checking? The majority are going to go, wait a minute. He said there's going to be a bloodbath. They're going to be scared. Charlottesville, he said there's good people on both sides. Oh, my God, what a racist. January 6th, she said cops died. Multiple cops died. Bullshit. Nobody died. There was one person that died, and it was Ashley Babbitt, and she was a veteran.
There were four protesters that died. Ashley Babbitt, Roseanne Boyland, and I always forget the names of the other two.
Yeah.
And then Brian Sicknick had a stroke the next day, which some say was related to physical exertion the day of.
Whatever.
But they said he was beaten to death by a mob of Trump supporters. New York Times ran that headline.
Yeah. With a fire
smashed in the head with a fire extinguisher. They knew that was a lie from day one. That's the issue, is that it's fact check everybody or don't fact check at all and let the internet do it. But as it stands now, people are like, oh, Trump lied 4 times and Kamala must not have ever lied when she made the most egregious, demonstrable, Snopes confirmed lies.
She's the worst, bro. And her neck, by the way, I'm not an appearance person, but her neck looks 40 years older than her face. If you look at it.
How old is she?
60.
Yeah, because I imagine that's what happens. I don't know if she's had face work
like
done.
If you're putting lotion here, get it on your neck.
Where she was like, I'm the face of a new generation. Like, not by much.
Right?
No, but not
get
just
your neck, Nat.
The
Get
face
your
of
neck. You know that.
The face of a new generation who's been at the helm of the Biden administration for the last 3.5 years. It's just rebranding of a turd and saying now it's gold.
Yeah.
But think about, she's just been riding things to success for years, whether it's Joe Biden's coattails or Willie Brown's Brown Willie. She made it all the way up there by other people's success and influence.
Well, my joke was that she's made it by screwing people. So she screwed Willie Brown, and then she screwed Joe Biden also, all the way to the top.
Yep. And okay, this next video, which Brandon, you made a comment about this earlier today before we got in here, right when I walked in, about how he should have kept talking about this and kept pushing on it, which I want to hear your point. This is Trump saying that he probably took a bullet in the head because of the crap that Kamala and the left says, and then they cut him off. Go ahead. Play it.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She
department.
weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot
Yeah,
to
but
get
they
to.
got to cut. They have to cut him off. And I think, and I'll go to you, Brandon. I want to hear what you guys think. He should have harped more on me personally, like the assassin. Like that was your moment to just go in, like what I've done for the country, where I'm going for the country. I took a bullet for the country. I got shot in the head, and if it wasn't by the grace of God, I wouldn't be here. Joe Biden would still be here, and you guys would be finished in 4 years. What do you think, Brandon?
So this is bizarre to me ever since this happened. The fact that he let this story die, because it would still be a primary story if he was still talking about the way that he would have for any other thing that was a big deal in his campaign. So I think that somebody very scary, very powerful spoke to him after this and put the fear of God into him, because I can't think of any other imaginable reason why he stopped talking about this, why he took the mainstream narrative.
Why do you guys?
Because he got shot in the head.
Yeah, why isn't he calling it out? Why is he saying the Secret Service did a great job? That's
Maybe
crazy.
Well, yes, that I.
Well, he
don't
doesn't. He doesn't want to have them not do a good job now that he survived.
but
This
Rob,
is doing a good job as it was.
This is you guys
Rob,
trying.
Rob,
I
I
hate
want
to see
you
what
to
happens
say
when
your
you
point,
don't.
because he makes a really good point. He was shot in the head.
Yeah.
By the way, and I'm being genuine from an expert marksman shooter. I'm not a sniper, but I'm pretty nasty. Those guys normally don't miss. So if that was a warning shot, a heads up, hey, listen, mother effer, you listen to what we say or whatever. What would make you, Rob, if you're the president, ex-president, you got shot in the head, tell me that wouldn't be your, I would open with that. That's like a joke that works every time. I'd be like, hey, guys, just really fast, before we even start, this is how much I love you and how much they hate me because I'm here for you. They tried to shoot my head off, just like they did with RFK, just like they did to his brother. I'm here for you. They're trying to kill me. And look back to 2016 from Russian collusion. It's not like it's a secret. Look what they've been doing to me for 8 years. Guess who did it?
And think about it like this too. So like the election, he talks about the election all the time, and there's far more weird things around the shooting than the election. But why isn't he talking about the weird things around the shooting? Why isn't he talking about the lack of security?
I try to steel man it, because I agree with you. Like, you either make it not sort of a joke. I mean, you can have an intro joke like I won't even make.
Well, my point was, I mean, if you're a stand-up and you have a go-to joke like a closer, that's what you close with because you know it works. Dave, what I'm saying is, the guy was shot in the head a couple months ago. Why isn't that your talking point?
Yeah, Vinny, in ancient Rome, there was a senator named Cato the Elder who really wanted to go to war with Carthage. And every time he spoke, regardless of what he was talking about, he'd end his statement with Carthago delenda est, which is Carthage must be destroyed. So we could be talking about tax policy. And then in conclusion, Carthage must be destroyed. Thank you. And then
Yeah, bye.
So in conclusion, they shot me in the friggin' head.
Just to remind you guys, because Brandon said it. Guys, it got story hold. And nobody's even talking about it. He mentioned it for 10 seconds and they cut him off.
He took the mainstream narrative too. Good.
No. The joke that I was going to say is, you can start it like, any snipers in the house? All right, get out. Bada bing, bada boom.
Where my shooters at?
I've been asking myself the question is, where are my shooters at? Sorry, I just got that. Yeah. I'm trying to steel man it as well. Like, does he not? He doesn't want to run on sympathy. He doesn't want to run on pity. He doesn't. Maybe he thinks that it would cause. I don't know. Maybe he thinks it would cause more copycat.
But Brandon made a good point. What if it's them saying like, hey, he doesn't want to piss off the powerful people. They're like, hey, bro.
There's no way that was a warning shot. That wasn't a shot by a dude.
I think they said to him, hey, like, we did intend to kill you, and we will kill you if you keep pushing this hard. Take a step back and make some compromise.
Well, at that point, I don't think the threat would be against him in order to work. It would have to be against his kids and his grandkids, and maybe they say like.
But why? Like, why wouldn't he call out the weird things, like the fact that they hosed off the building, like that day they closed out the crime scene, cleaned it up.
Well,
within a few days.
Let me steel man it, because I don't think he's been threatened into silence. Although if they're going to do it, it's not going to be we're going to kill you or try again. It's going to be we're going to go for your family, your friends, everybody. Maybe waiting for it to be a little closer, because if you harp on it too much 3 months out of the election, people forget come election time. So maybe it comes back up in November or late October. I don't know. I think it's a mistake as well, because he put out an ad campaign, a campaign ad on Twitter, and it didn't have any reference to the failed assassination attempt, which I don't understand.
That's not like him.
That's not like him. Go, Brandon, go ahead.
No, it's not like him. I mean, there's so many things to call out that haven't been explained yet, and why isn't he talking about it? He's taking the same exact narrative as CNN, basically. He's saying, oh, the Secret Service did a great job, it was a mistake, what happened, but not calling out the fact. Like, they cremated the kid's body before anybody even got to look at it.
They knew that kid.
If they threatened him to silence, then explain that that comment to Harris of they shot me in the head because of the things they say about me.
I think he might be waiting to not capitalize on it, but I don't think he wants to be seen as capitalizing off of that. It makes him a victim and it doesn't make him a leader, although I would frame it as I'm such a leader that they tried to take me down to get to you guys. But who knows? I mean, maybe he starts putting a little more emphasis on it as we get closer.
And the institution that the Biden controlled is the institution that let him down, and the institution that was investigating him for years unethically. The FBI raided his place, did all these things to him. They're the ones who are handling the investigation. So the people protecting him, and people
them on that.
I'm having trouble disagreeing with you because I think you're right, and it's the culmination of the lawfare that he was, talks about all the time. It should be. By the way, that sound clip, that's going to resonate well, and that's going to age well. Like when I watched that, I was like, oh, if that's the only clip I see from the debate, that's a damn good
That's
clip.
revenge season Trump, which is when he's at his strongest. They've tried to take me out, they're trying to take you out. Look at what they've done to our country. We're here to settle the score and make things the way they should be. And that was the message you should have been going with the entire time. I see the strategy and not trying to go for sympathy, but if he spins it into anger, not sympathy, of the battle lines are now drawn between the people who think it's okay to shoot a presidential candidate in the head and the people who don't. It's not about right or left, Democrat, Republican. If you think it's okay to shoot people, vote for Kamala. If you think it's bad to shoot people, vote for me.
Oh yeah, and I want to show that. I want to move on and show this.
Speaking of shooting people,
this guy's a weirdo. Yeah. Speaking of guns, this guy, he's a weirdo, but I really like his content. His name is Viva Frei. He's on Twitter. He posted this. He fact checked Kamala because Kamala was talking about not wanting to confiscate your guns, and she's like, I'm a gun owner, so is Tim Walz.
First time she's ever said that she's a gun owner, and not that I don't trust a liar when they say something that I don't believe. I'd like to see some receipts. What type of gun? When did she get it? Because if she's talking about the guns her Secret Service owns, I'm a beneficiary owner of
it's
guns.
a military-style assault rifle.
She's never mentioned that she's a gun owner
ever.
Ever.
I want to see
what an opportune time.
It has a 30 clip round magazine.
Yeah,
and it's as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving.
Yeah, I don't believe her, but this is her back in the day, older clip, right?
29.
Talking about talking about gun confiscation. Go ahead, play it.
Adding to your gun control agenda? Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but I mean, listen, I don't think we lack for great ideas. As I've said many times, we've been having great ideas for decades. The problem is that Congress has not had the courage to act. And that is why, from the beginning, I have said, my agenda includes attempting to get Congress to act, but if they don't within the first 100 days of my administration, I'm going to take executive action. Because what we need is action.
And that's on the issue of, I believe it's mandatory buybacks. Which is also known as confiscation.
It's confiscation. She's saying she's going to come for your freaking.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say we could play the Warnock video as well because this is the one.
This one?
This is unequivocal. This is now. This is now, and this is what's Warnock's position?
Warnock,
governor. I want to say governor.
Senator Georgia.
Either way. He's clear and unequivocal. We need to get to where we need to get, and we're gonna, do what we need to get there. Play this, and this leaves no room for doubt anymore.
Should she also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago we finally did a gun safety law, the Safer Communities Act, and it was the first gun safety law we passed in 30 years. 30 years. And it was modest, but it did save lives. But clearly, in the wake of what happened just the other day in Winder, Georgia, it's not enough. And the least we can do is move forward on the bipartisan spaces where ordinary people agree.
Notice there has been
clearly there's a disconnect between what the people, the American people, want and what they're able to get out of their government. Again, 87% of Americans believe in background checks, and yet I hear politicians say that it's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people, and yet we don't even want to know who those people are. We won't even support.
Senator, just yes or no, though, should she support the mandatory buyback program? Just a yes or no.
Listen, look, as a pastor, I've done buyback programs. You can pick this issue or that issue. But I think that, again, there's not one single thing that will make all of this go away.
That's a yes. Listen, I don't want to say it because it would be very bad if I do, but yeah.
Ahead, speaking of hills to die on, this is the fucking hill to die on. Mandatory gun buybacks, never. That's death for everybody.
No,
I mean,
No.
Yeah, like that's what. Look what happened to Australia. Australia had this fake mass shooting in Port Arthur in the 90s, and they all had mandatory gun buybacks, and now they can't have any say over what happens in their country. That's why I say 500 patriots need to run for Congress, because that's what he's talking about. He wants Congress to make laws that make this happen. Congress can move mountains if they're united behind something.
Mm-hmm.
So if God forbid Kamala wins and the House flips, then they could actually do this, and they could add Supreme Court justices too. So that's why Congress is so important, that regular people need to run for Congress.
What's up, Rob?
Well, 2019, so that's when she made the comments about the mandatory gun buyback program, correct?
I don't want to necessarily. I believe so, but I might be wrong.
It was during her last run for president.
During that same run, she also announced that if she was elected into office, she would utilize the Department of Justice to go after social media companies that allow disinformation to be spread on their platform.
Wow.
Which is exactly what ended up happening to Telegram's CEO.
Pavel Durov.
Yes. So,
legend.
In what world, just ask yourself this, in what world is the party of censoring free speech, removing your rights to guns, taxing you into oblivion? Who supports any of that? When has anybody ever been on the right side of history when they've censored free speech?
Never.
Answer that question.
Never.
Ever.
Nope.
But Democrats are the party of freedom because it's Republicans who want to get gay porn out of public schools. That's the real problem. That's the hill to die on, people.
Well, they misuse the word democracy. Like when they say democracy, you have to think of the system they built for themselves. That's a wealth extraction machine. It's not democracy in the traditional sense. It's this whole different thing. But whenever they say he's a threat to democracy or we're protecting democracy, they're precisely talking about that.
And that point was made last night during the debate, and Donald Trump handled it masterfully. You know what he said? I'm a threat to democracy. 14 million people voted for Joe Biden to be your nominee. Kamala Harris didn't get one single vote, so don't sit here and tell me I'm the threat to democracy when you are literally, what's the term when you subvert democracy?
Subvert
democracy? Destroy democracy? Ignore democracy? How can you sit here and say, because he went out on January 6th and told people to go home?
Yeah.
He's the threat.
Peacefully.
Look, I think RFK basically enunciated it or elucidated it the best in his speech, where he says, like, the Democrat Party of my father was anti-big pharma, anti-big government, anti-war, pro-free speech, and the Democrat Party today is the exact opposite in every aspect of it. And by the way, the mandatory buyback, people might want to look up Wounded Knee Massacre if anybody doesn't know about that. I think it's the biggest mass murder in American history, where they took away the Lakota tribe members' guns for their own safety, and then a few days later massacred about 300.
I love that.
That's
We're
what
going to
happens.
take your weapons for your own safety.
and then slaughtered them.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, guys.
Think about the notion of a buyback.
Mandatory buyback.
Mandatory is the word.
The government did not sell it to you, so they can't buy anything back.
And they're buying it back with your money.
With our
With our
money that we
tax
gave them. So
that is the hill to die.
I forget which founding father it was who said, democracy only lasts up until the government realizes it can bribe the people with their own money. And we are well past that
Well,
point.
they did that during COVID. Remember?
Yeah.
Hey, go get the COVID shot and get a free cheeseburger. And there were idiots that were like, well, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I'm
Let me
starving.
You know, this,
I'm going to go get myocarditis and I'll end up being obese.
This virus
That's called evolution,
primarily-
survival of the fittest.
virus that primarily kills
the
heavy-set
obese.
people. Let's get donuts and pizza and burgers if you get the
I mean,
shot.
every time I think about everything we went through during COVID, where they had the lotteries for it, the burgers,
What do you
a
mean?
beer.
Mayor de Blasio was like, what's that? They get this
slob.
burger element? Bro,
Oh, that
what
tastes-
a
it tastes like-
disgusting human being.
Yeah.
De Blasio, and I just saw, who's that, Scott Labello, the guy, our painter friend?
the Italian painter from New
Italian
York.
painter, he's freaking amazing, bro. He did a video, he's like, hey, De Blasio, and he goes, you're a freaking scumbag piece of shit. Dude, I watched it probably 50 times.
So when you look at those things, though, Viva, you brought up a great point. When we look at that stuff, who's the crazy ones now? Is it the people who are calling that out and saying, hey, this is weird, or the people who still buy into it, or the people that were part of it?
Well, if you ask the friend who unfriended me, a lifelong friend of 20-some-odd years who basically in a DM on Instagram said, let's not pretend there's anything here anymore, I'm the crazy one. I had a friend who I haven't fought with him in a long time because he doesn't return my messages. I screen recorded all of our dialogue throughout COVID. We're like, oh yeah, they said you can't protest because it's a mass spreader event, but then they said BLM can protest. And his response was, yeah, that's problematic. I was like, no, it's not problematic. You're being lied to and you're a moron for believing it. They still think I'm crazy. I might be, but I was right.
I mean, you kind of, Brandon. I want to go past these two because we still have two more stories that I want to hit. This video, which I like, and then now we're gonna play these back to back. We'll brief quickly, and then we'll go to the next one. This is Trump telling Kamala during a debate to just get her ass out, go to Washington. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is her. Oh, by the way, this is a rule break. She's supposed to be muted during the debate. She's not muted here, and she's talking shit back. Go ahead.
Nick Sortor is a great follow on Twitter.
That's the problem.
Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question,
you
would you
could
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th.
Yeah. By the way, that's called cheating. That's exactly what that is, because they're letting her break the rules without saying nothing. And then this one is her telling her to leave and go do her job, go to Washington right now. Go ahead.
I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill.
Okay.
Do you guys find yourself frequently forgetting that Joe Biden is president?
Yeah,
all the time.
All the time.
I didn't remember.
Just on the immigration thing real quick, she brought up after he said that, she's like, yeah, we had an immigration bill. We put it for Congress, but he told the Congress people not to sign it because he wanted to be the hero. No, they snuck in the immigration thing to the bill that they were giving Ukraine and Israel all that money.
I think it was $60 billion to Ukraine.
It was the one that ended up happening. So
that was the biggest softball that Trump missed. Because if I'm answering that question and I'm saying, first of all, you put a bill in 3.5 years after causing the problem, and that bill gave $60 billion to Ukraine, $15 billion to Israel, $5 billion, whatever,
Taiwan,
and less to the border,
and gave exclusive jurisdiction to the corrupt D.C. courts. Yeah. That wasn't a bill. That was an aid bill in disguise and a usurpation of power bill in disguise, and it was a dead bill after. I mean, I would have nailed it.
But
it was a missed opportunity. That was
missed opportunity big time. And then this last video, and then we're going to move on. This is Vivek and Tulsi reacting to the debate. Go ahead.
It's interesting, Vivek, because Tulsi says that the former president brought voice to the American people. Did he bring the fire to the feet of Kamala Harris? Did he press her enough on all of her flip-flops?
Well, I think the most important part was that he actually spoke for the 80-plus million Americans, probably 90-plus million Americans, if things go well, that are going to vote for him. But also for many of the Americans who may even disagree with some of his positions. They don't want to stay out of World War III. I think Donald Trump spoke really clearly to the fact that Kamala Harris's words pale in comparison to his actions in securing peace. We were on the brink of war with North Korea, kept us out of it, avoided 2 major wars that we're now in, Russia, Ukraine, what's going on in the Middle East. And so I think he really landed that. As far as it goes to holding Kamala Harris's feet to the fire, you had muted mics in each direction. That's the job of the moderators, and particularly one of the two moderators I thought did a disastrous job today in feigning fact checks of Donald Trump without remotely even appearing to apply those same standards to Kamala Harris. But I do trust the voters, Trace. They've been tricked by the media before. I think many voters are now attuned to that. And so what we may see is that may actually backfire in a counterintuitive way where people feel like Donald Trump's being set up.
Vivek is a smart man.
Smart, no BS, articulate, has a freaking backbone. I saw him, dude. I saw this guy evolve into he was okay, debated, and then something clicked, bro. And this guy is just.
Everybody should do high school debate and university debate if they can. Mock trials, like I've never done one in law school, but he's amazing because he's right. And you try to flip the bias on their head and you say, yeah, this is going to actually come back to bite them in the butt when everybody realizes they've been lied to for the last decade and they're trying to do it again and people aren't stupid.
Yep, they're not. Okay.
Hopefully.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you so much. By the way, guys, I have to do this one fast. I really have to. Taylor Swift. Guys, Rob, I was looking at Rob on the face yesterday. Right when the debate was over, I got a text message and it was like, Vinny, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris right now. Can you please go? Nat, can you go to the actual, I sent you did you get the photos, Nat? I sent you the photo on Slack of her. And I could read it.
I saw that video. I still don't understand what I was looking at in
what
that video of her singing some song.
It's called Cringe. It's called, because remember, were you here the day we did the story on her the leaked PR stuff about her breaking up with him?
No.
Oh, so September 18th, it was allegedly a PR leak from his PR company that they're supposed to break up, and the whole process of the breakup. Like his image, don't let him down, say that they're taking time from each other. So it's the 18th is coming up, and it's supposed to be like it's not going to happen now because everybody knows.
Hold on, I don't understand. It was supposed to be a ploy to set
the
up
allegation
the
is that their entire relationship is a fraud.
Oh, and they're
There's
setting
a
up the PR
contract
as to
saying
how
the scheduled end date is supposed to be September
the
18th.
front door.
No, it was.
But
How did that document get out?
The Daily Mail.
The Daily Mail, and it's alleged, but somebody from the PR firm took a photo of every page, and bro, it was pretty damn legit. And then I'm gonna show you guys a video after Nat shows this of how just fake, staged, like.
They're not humans anymore.
No, they're not.
They're like
They're not.
not robots.
This
but
was
they're
the
just,
topic of our last episode, is that they're products. Whether they know that there's some weird relationship contract, whether they even have
I
one.
think so.
They're being used like products for all the people who make billions of dollars off of them every single year.
So this is Taylor. By the way, she posts a photo of herself. You can show this. This is Nat. This is Taylor with a cat.
That's a good-looking cat. I don't even like cats.
But the cat, guess what? That cat is depressed because his mother's a self-proclaimed witch. What, Rob?
That person, like Connor, the one thing I'm so excited for you, my 5-year-old and we're now doing movie nights every night. We like to sit down, and the 14-year-old has to go to bed earlier because he's in high school, but the 5-year-old stays up a little bit later, so we're really getting to have some bonding time. And over the past couple of months, I've seen a real transformation in my son where he was a mama's boy, and he's now slowly becoming a father's boy. Yeah. Right? Like he wants to hang out with me.
Thank you for not calling yourself daddy.
Yes, that would have been weird. But I love, like, my favorite moment of my day is walking in my front door and my 5-year-old being so excited to run up and see me. She'll never have that.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the look of a person. Like, maybe she feels that this is happiness. I'm telling you, from somebody who has kids, you don't understand true happiness until you have that feeling in your life. And to sit here and go out and be like, well, I'm one of these catless, childless women.
Cat lady.
Yeah, who are happy and thrive in being single and 40. I'm telling you, you're missing something you don't understand, and you may never get it. And
if you don't change your attitude,
well, putting people up on pedestals like this because she's a single cat lady, it just furthers that perpetuation for people to go, oh, it's cool to be single. And not. Guys, I'm telling you, you're missing out on something. Connor, I'm excited for you to enjoy that journey. He knows what it's like. I know what it's like, and you two will eventually.
You can experience love from a pet for sure. When your dog runs up, it's nice to see your dog. But your dog would also love a bag of sticks with your shirt on it.
Yeah,
because that's not the same thing.
My dog gets as excited to see me as he is to lick my cat's asshole. That is literally, he gets the same look in his eyes, like, oh, I can't wait to do both. I'm going to go kiss my daddy, and then I'm going to go lick the cat's asshole.
Is your dog Haitian?
Both.
So, but kind of go to your point, how, we're talking about these relationships and everything set up. Everything about her is fake. Everything is set up. She's a freaking psyop, true and true. And this is her tweet. Should I read the whole thing, or should I just... I'll read it.
Because people listen on
Spotify. All right, you guys are listening on Spotify. I'll read it for you guys. So this is her. Like many of you guys... No, I'm joking. I'm going to read it as a guy. All right, like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issue at hand and take the stances that the candidates take on the topics that matter to you and the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and their plans for this country. I recently was made aware that an AI of me falsely endorsing Trump presidential run was posted on his site. It really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion that I need to be very transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe she can calm and not cause chaos.
She can calm and not cause chaos. It's chaos now because of
it's 100% because of her. I was so heartened and impressed and impressed by the selection of her running mate, Tim Walz. She probably has no idea who the hell he is. Has been standing up for the LGBTQAI plus rights, IVF, and a woman's right to own her own body for decades. I've done my research and I made my choice. Your research is all yours to do. The choice is yours to make. I also want to say, especially for the first-time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it much easier to vote early, just so they could
And
hopefully
vote
cheat.
often.
Yeah, and cheat and vote often. I'll link to where the registered early to find voting dates and in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, childless cat lady.
As I've said before,
Who wrote that
my
for her?
Who do you think?
my wife is a huge Swift fan who listens to all her music, so that has exposed me to more Taylor Swift music than I
feel
ever would
bad
have
for you. I'm
wanted.
so sorry.
But there was the lyric in one song she wrote where she said, "I have this thing where I get older but never wiser." Truer
There it
words
is.
were never
By the way,
written.
Connor, Connor, are you having a son or a daughter? Do you know yet?
Don't know yet.
Okay, can I ask one request? And I think all of our watchers, Dave, Rob, everybody here, do not let her make this child a Swiftie. I don't give a shit what the hell you have to
Absolutely
do. Break the CD, throw them in the. I don't.
Swiftie is going to be 55. She's going to be
50.
Madonna's age by the time
She'll
your
still
baby's
have
up.
guess what? They're going to grow up and they're going to love her. Rob, what are you smirking?
Very interesting. I looked at somebody brought this to my attention. They said, "Go take a look at Taylor Swift's tour dates." And I looked at Taylor Swift's tour dates.
Oh yeah.
So the mandatory early voting period for the state of Florida is October 26th through November 2nd. Guess when Taylor Swift and the Kamala tour comes to South Florida? October 18th, 19th, 20th.
Oh.
So she's doing 3 major concerts in Florida the week before early voting starts in Florida.
You don't think Kamala's
That
going
is
to come through?
not done by accident.
No, and do you think Kamala's not going to show up, or they're not going to do something together?
So we know, based on putting on the vault last week, Natalia knows how much work goes in that convention. That is a convention. It's not a Taylor Swift concert, but that's a convention that takes an entire year of planning. These concerts don't just happen to pop up.
No.
This is a coordinated scheme.
Plan.
A plan by Taylor Swift to get out early young voters in the state of Florida in hopes of. So I'm interested to see, and this is what I'm going to go dig into, is other early voting in other states, and does Taylor Swift's tour dates line up with that? Because imagine, what if she's going around and performing in all of these major battleground states leading up to the election and telling people to go out?
I'm ready for this, Rob. I'll give you a discount too. If you show me that you registered, I'll give you a discount on my freaking $800 tickets or whatever they are.
You know, in that sense, actually, my wife being pregnant might be one of the best possible blessings that could have happened, because the expense of that will stop her from going to the Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, I love it. She
So,
can't do it.
I
best,
feel like
best of all possible worlds.
I feel like a total idiot because I didn't realize when I saw that image that she was celebrating the no-child cat lady.
Oh, by the way, and speaking of, because I want to move on the last one to the 9/11, what do you guys, like, I'm going to play this video, Nat. And Nat, I want your opinion too, because Nat's on the ones and twos with Jake. Guys, does this feel fake and forced, and it's Travis Kelce living in hell? And by the way, he's dressed like a complete douchebag. Play this video, please.
It's a little early for November.
Look. Look at these two. What a...
I always wonder what her,
Look,
what
just
her
look at
breath-
this. He's in hell. He's in hell.
I'd be willing to bet it's not water.
No, not at all. But look at these two.
Well,
How
I mean,
forced this looks.
Who did I had on?
For everybody's, not to cut you off, for
Yeah.
everybody's just listening and not watching, they're at the U.S. Open. He's wearing a freaking condom hat, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Bucket hat.
And she's singing bucket hat.
Well, he's wearing what looks like a loser fedora with a mustache that's like a
He is
loser
such a
Magnum
dork,
PI
bro.
mustache.
He's
Looks
such
like
a
an out-of-work
dork.
porn star.
He is such a dork. And I'll say it again. Travis Kelce, you're a dork. That is such a dorky outfit.
It's
Just a fake-ass relationship. I'm shocked he's there and he's not. I thought it was time for him to get another jab.
That's the look of selling your soul, though. Like, you know,
That's that look. That's it.
Like-
All right, we're gonna move on. All that to go to 9/11, which we actually
wonderful.
Yeah, guys, we actually saved it because we want to get all the debate stuff and not open up with something like 9/11. But I think with all the hype and all the talk and all the election, I think 9/11 hasn't gotten the proper remembrance that it should. I just want to let everybody know, and I mentioned it earlier, 2,977 Americans died on September 11th. 2,753 were in the World Trade Center and the surrounding areas of New York. 184 people died at the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. And the 40 passengers and crew aboard United Airlines Flight 93 who crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers attempted to overcome the hijackers. Shout out to them for at least trying. But I want to just really quick, I want to go around and ask Dave, where were you on, do you remember where you were on September 11th?
Tuesday morning, getting ready to go to philosophy class, and something was on the news, and I went into my dad's room and laid on the bed and was watching it on TV, and was watching it after the first tower had gotten hit, but before the second one got hit. And then I remember the second one got hit, and the journalist was talking and saying, is there possibly some radar that is directing the planes into these buildings? And her colleague is like, no, Susie, this is clearly coordinated. And I had my brother and sister were living in New York at the time. My sister was a lawyer, and I didn't know where she worked, but she worked not far from, but not in the vicinity. And I was on the phone with my brother. He's in New York. He's looking out his window, and he starts seeing the buildings collapse, and he starts freaking out on the phone with me before I see it, because he saw it before I got it on TV.
feed, yeah.
And I was like, what's happening? He's like screaming, they're falling.
Oh my God.
Then I see it on the TV, and then it's a different world than we knew 3 hours earlier.
Connor, where were you at?
Let's see. September 2001, I was almost 4 years old.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
So I was I was at preschool. I remember my dad picked me up. All the parents showed up. Everyone was pulling their kids out of school because nobody knew what was about to happen.
Yeah.
I went home and the news was on in time for me to see the footage of the second tower coming down. And weirdly enough, it's one of my earliest memories.
Wow.
Actually. Start forming concrete memories around 3-4 years old. So like I remember my younger brother being born when I was 3, and then September 11th. So I have grown up in a world defined by that. My brother was about a year old at that point. So he has no memory of ever existing in a world pre 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I barely remember it. But everything that has happened since then has been, for better or worse, defined by what happened that day. Where it's like we went to Afghanistan right after that. When I was we went to Afghanistan 2002.
Yeah, because I mean Iraq was first, and then
So I was about to be 5 when we went.
yeah.
I was a college graduate working in media and broadcasting in 2022 when we pulled out. So for my entire life, we were in Afghanistan dealing with the consequences of what happened there.
Getting heroin.
Yeah, exactly. And then as we'll get into, to now be in a position of seeing so many things about what happened, where the lies, the cover-ups, the corruption that shows the narrative they pushed we were pushing when I was 4 years old was fraudulent.
Yep.
And they knew it, and they went with it anyway. It's heartbreaking now for a whole other reason.
In my brain, I'm like, because I'm 46. I was like, holy shit, this guy's 4 years old.
I was wondering why it was taking him so long.
Yeah,
I was like,
like,
dude,
what the
everyone
hell?
knows where they were.
Everybody knows.
Oh, you were 4.
Yeah.
Brandon, real quick.
Yeah, no, I was in first grade. Same deal. We all got taken home early and stuff. But I remember it was like really one of my formative thoughts to when something can't be explained well, and when you ask simple questions and you can't get a simple answer to it, then something's wrong with that situation. And it repeats itself over and over again with any of these things we talk about, that there's a certain narrative, but things don't make sense. It seems to be the overarching theme of anything like this, where if they can't explain it well, then there's something not right. And it's definitely a terrorist attack, but definitely a government terrorist attack from our own government.
I mean, just look at some of the facts of, did we fact check the Condoleezza Rice?
I couldn't.
There were so many irregularities, guys. I was in the United States Air Force, and then Rob, because I want to come to you because we have a couple minutes left. I want you to close us out. I was on an Air Force shooting team. I was in Guernsey, Wyoming. We're getting ready, and bro, for some reason there were just the competition was canceled, and this was before 9/11, and everybody was just asking. It was weird. It was just weird because it's like we were on high alert. It was very, very odd. Everybody's A bags were packed, and when I was told the competition was cut, I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean? I'm the number one guy. I'm ready to go shoot and show off, and they're like, yeah. It was just I was there, and it happened, and dude, we all had to get flown back to our base. Everybody, I was going to get my anthrax shots and getting ready to freaking go to war. And it was just, bro, and I'm from New York, so we were calling my mom, my uncle who works at the World. It was like, it was insane, bro. Everybody was like, because if you're from New York, everybody was, and you weren't in New York, everybody was calling to find out, where the hell are you? Is anybody near the World Trade? Because, people were, planes hit, shit was falling down. It was pandemonium, but it was one of those most surreal moments that, brought everybody together. But like you said, Brandon, the amount of unanswered questions, the footage of well, Rob, you're going to get into this?
Oh, yes, I'd love to.
Oh, please. Please let Rob get into it. But can I say one thing, Rob, before we go to you? Because I want you to close us out. What bothers me the most, because of all these questions and all the irregularities that you're talking about and that Rob's going to get into right now, because they're unexplainable. And it's physics. They fell down, building number 7, all that bullshit. My heart goes out as being a New Yorker. And I know, Jake, you're from New York too, correct? Jake? Oh, okay, Jake's whole family's from New York. He's out there. I watched videos recently, a couple days ago, leading up to 9/11, of where the plane hit in Tower 1, Tower 2, and looking at the Americans that are hanging out of the windows. Think about this. They're hanging out of these windows, choking by the smoke. Okay, they have to make a decision. Okay, go back inside and burn to death. Okay, or jump to my death because I can't take it. They're suffocating, or just wait it out because, by the way, they're waving, thinking help is coming because there was choppers flying around. Nobody was coming to help. They were freaking murdered, and they were left up there to freaking die. And think about it, they came down with this rubble, and my heart goes up. Like, those last moments of your life are just sitting there. By the way, and the amount of people that jumped to their deaths, and if because there's a lot of questions circulating of who knew what, when did they know it, because there was exercises going on. That's why when the F-16s, when the Air Force was notified, like, hey, we're under attack, they're like, is this real world or exercise? They're like, no, this is exercise. The odds of them having an exercise the same day, kind of weird. Larry Silverstein, his insurance policy, but my heart goes out to all those people and their families, man. The words can't express how much I feel bad for them and for them to be put in that situation. But Rob, please, with your 9/11 oddities, please close us out.
Sure. Not just did 2,977 Americans die on 9/11. We also have to remember the servicemen who have lost their lives defending freedom in the wars that followed. 2,459 U.S. service members lost their lives in the war in Afghanistan. 4,488 soldiers lost their lives in the war in Iraq. We never found weapons of mass destruction. You could go back and watch Donald Trump calling out both Bushes during the 2016 debate. It's fantastic. The war in Iraq was a lie. We all know that. But let's go through the 9/11 oddities. If they tell you that you cannot forget, remember, we must, what is it? 9/11, never forget. Well, then do not forget the weird things that took place on 9/11. And these are facts. You can go and Google them yourselves. I'm just going to run through a list of them. You guys weigh in wherever you want. But these are not debatable. These are actually things that happened. Yeah. And I want in this day and age where we continue to get memory hold with things. Look, we talked about Trump's assassination. That happened 7-8 weeks ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. Yeah. Nobody even talks about it. Yeah. We talk more now about JFK's assassination than the assassination that happened 2 months ago. Yeah. So let's go through some of the oddities. First, we all know the missing trillions. Donald Rumsfeld announces they're missing $2.3 trillion in transactions. They go missing. Do you know when he made that announcement?
Day before.
September 10th, 2001. He stated the Pentagon was unable to account for approximately $2.3 trillion in transactions. The next thing, has anybody here ever heard of Pentagon Maskell? Do you guys know what this is?
No.
No. Pentagon Maskell was a contingency exercise held at the Pentagon between October 24th and October 26th of 2000. The exercise simulated a plane crashing into the Pentagon and the emergency response capabilities of Pentagon staff, emergency medical personnel, protective services, and government officials.
It's like COVID event 201 happening like months before COVID happened.
No, the argument's going to be they always do things like this. So when it happens, they will have always had one test, whatever, in the days or weeks leading up to it.
Why is always a few months before?
Here's another interesting oddity from 9/11, the insider trading. Are you guys aware of the stock short?
I was just Googling because I thought I
airline.
remembered that.
Yeah.
Snopes said it's false, and yet I just found an article from CBS News from 2001 saying, yeah, it's odd that these puts were put in.
Snopes can go to hell. I don't listen to Snopes.
There was a significant increase in the purchase of put options on both American and United Airlines, the two airlines that were involved. And this is not airlines today. This is airlines 2001. You had, let's think.
It was like Pan Am.
Yes, Pan Am. What was the one that went to TWA? There were a lot of different airliners. The odds that two of those airliners that were involved in the attacks had stock shorts put on them. Very interesting. Do you guys remember there was NORAD training, and I think you mentioned this, Vinny, on September 11th?
On September 11th.
They had the North American Aerospace Defense Command was involved in an ongoing operation which involved deploying fighter aircrafts to northeastern North America on September 11th. And they claim that is part of the reason why they weren't able to dispatch the fighter jets to intercept
what a great
hijacked airliner.
What a great
'cause They
timing.
were out busy training.
Wow, great excuse, huh?
We all are aware of the dancing Israelis.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Are you guys aware of the dancing Israelis' ties to the Urban Moving Company?
Ooh.
The Urban Moving Company was a small Israeli-owned business based in New Jersey. It was involved in moving furniture and equipment for Israeli businesses and individuals in the area. However, some of the individuals who were suspected of being the dancing Israelis were either employees or associates of Urban Moving Company, the Israeli-owned business, who their offices were raided in the days after 9/11 after they captured the dancing Israelis, and they held them captive for 2 months in the United States, interrogating them. They raided their offices in the days following 9/11. Everything vanished. Computers, paperwork, filing cabinets, everything gone.
That's so weird.
You are going to get to the passport that was found intact at the base of one of the buildings.
You know what's so crazy? That's not even in my...
Because this is one where I was having a discussion with someone, and they said, you did know this, right? And I'm like, I'm reasonably informed. Like, no, I did not. They found one of the passports after the plane crashed into the building at the base of one of the towers.
Not
intact.
burned, perfect condition, Rob. Go ahead.
You spoke of Mohammed Atta. Let's go to Mohammed Atta's father. Mohammed Almir Atta, the father of Mohammed Atta, the man accused of being the lead hijacker on September 11th, told NBC after the attacks happened that the work was not done by Muslim fanatics. He said, look to Mossad and Israeli intelligence. Mohammed also claims that after his son was identified as one of the 19 hijackers on September 11th, he received a phone call from his son. So his son is supposed to be the lead hijacker, but he receives a phone call the day after the attacks from his son telling him that he wasn't involved in the attacks. Not only does Muhammad Atta's father decline or say that his son wasn't involved, Osama bin Laden denied his own involvement in the 9/11 attacks from the get-go. He denied in an October 2001 interview with Al Jazeera that he was responsible for the attacks. In May of 2002, Robert Mueller, the FBI director, comes out and says that his organization has not uncovered a single piece of paper, either here in the United States or in the treasure trove of information that they found in Afghanistan or elsewhere that mentioned any aspect of the September 11th plot tied to bin Laden. The FBI says bin Laden didn't do it. Bin Laden says he doesn't do it, yet the news media reports that he did it, and the government tells you that he did it, so everybody buys into it.
A goat herder tethered to a dialysis machine definitely had the technology and the sophisticated planning to pull off this attack, right?
Yes, by the way, the same guy that's hiding in a cave, right? They come out the day of 9/11 and they say bin Laden was behind this. He is responsible. Al-Qaeda did this, right? They knew that the day of the attacks. Okay, that's very odd that same week, then the only people in the United States, the only people that could fly in America, do you guys remember? Every airline was shut down. Every airport was shut down. The only people that could fly, Osama bin Laden's family. Yep. They flew out 2 dozen members of Osama bin Laden's family were urgently evacuated from the United States in the first days following the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington. One of bin Laden's brothers frantically called the Saudi Arabian embassy looking for protection, and they provided it. So while the rest of America was grounded and we could not fly, the only people that are able to fly are the main suspect in the world in the deadliest terror attack in the United States.
Try to make that make sense to you.
Well, to me, Rob, say one more time. What embassy did he call?
The Saudi Arabian.
Not the Afghani embassy, not the Iraqi embassy.
No, he called the Saudi.
The Saudi Arabian embassy.
I'm finding this as we're talking. This is from governmentunt.edu. Mrs. Susan Ginsburg is saying this. Beginning with passports. Four of the hijacker passports have survived in whole or in part. 2 were recovered from the crash site of the United Airlines Flight 93 in Pennsylvania. These are the passports of Ziad Jarrah and Sarid Ghamdi. One belonged to a hijacker on American Airlines Flight 11. This is the passport of Satam al-Sakumi. A passerby picked it up and gave it to an NYPD detective shortly before the World Trade Center towers collapsed. A 4th passport was recovered from the luggage that did not make it on the flight. That's understandable. Oh, they crashed a plane into the building with such force that it melted the beams and brought those towers down, but the passport intact fell.
Black box didn't survive.
And then someone gives it to a freaking. Yeah. This was one of my memory of the day of 9/11 was not so much the morning, although it was the afternoon when we went to an Irish pub, and I'm sitting there with my wife, a girlfriend at the time, and my friend who's now no longer a friend, and there was this Irish music playing at the bar, and we're sitting there drinking beers, and there was for a moment like you visualized what it must have been like to be on those planes and the horror of the minutes or however long leading up to the moment of infinity of death.
Yeah.
And what they were able to do back, cells weren't what they were today. I don't know how many people got to, make the last farewells. But that moment where you know that you're going right into the tower and you see it, and then, I mean, that's a moment of pure terror. That I sat there and the music was playing and it was just like the lingering moment. But no, the idea that like when you realize it was the evil of that day actually even goes beyond the official narrative that we're told, and it's so much darker and so much more insidious, and that's it. And it's just part of our collective consciousness.
Yeah, and we're supposed to just not ask questions.
I have two more things. I know we're running over, so thank you for bearing with me. I just wanted, we cannot forget. I wanted to give you a quote from bin Laden. This is September 28th of 2001. This is just 17 days after the attack. He tells a Pakistani newspaper during an interview, I've already said that I am not involved in the September 11th attacks in the United States. As a Muslim, I try my best to avoid telling a lie. I had no knowledge of these attacks, nor do I consider the killing of innocent women, children, and other humans as an appreciated act. Islam strictly forbids causing harm to innocent women, children, and other people. Such a practice is forbidden even in the course of battle. It is the United States which is perpetuating every maltreatment of women, children, and common people of other faiths, particularly the followers of Islam. So bin Laden doesn't take credit for this. The people who are supposedly involved in this hijacking, their families say they hear from them after the accidents. And then most importantly, two things I want to bring to you. The FBI confiscates 82 tapes from surrounding businesses from the Pentagon the days after the attacks. Yep. It's now 23 years later. Why are they not releasing them? What could you possibly hide from the American public that would warrant keeping 82 surveillance cameras from showing the impact of the plane going into the Pentagon? And then one other thing.
The answer would be sources and methods, Rob.
And we always talk about following the money, right? Ian Carroll really red-pilled me with following the money. Larry Silverstein purchased the lease to the World Trade Center. Do you guys know when he purchased it?
3 months before?
July 24th of 2001. Do you know how much he purchased it for?
$2 billion?
$2 billion.
$3.2 billion. However, after the World Trade Centers collapsed and the insurance company battled with Larry, where he finally got them to rule that it was two separate terrorist attacks that were perpetuated, not under one, guess what the payout was for that? $4.65 billion. This guy netted $1.4 billion, $1.3 billion as a result of the loss of 2,977 Americans' lives. So in closing, I thank you guys all for going down this rabbit hole, but it is a terrible thing that happened on this day 23 years ago. And the only thing that I have learned, I'm nowhere closer to the truth now than I was 23 years ago, and I don't foresee me being any closer to the truth in 23 years from now. The only thing I can tell all of you is to appreciate the fragility of life, because those men and women that were put in that position where they were choking on that smoke or had to make a decision to jump or to die from smoke inhalation, those were just average people like Connor.
At work.
Like you going to work, kissing their kids and saying goodbye before they put their kids on the bus, expecting to come home that day, having no idea that two planes would crash into the buildings and destroy the skyline of New York and realistically change the future of America altogether. So live every day for its last, because you don't know when it's going to be. But thank you guys, and God bless the people that died. And I'm so sorry for the families of those people, like Pete Davidson. Imagine being that guy and your father was a firefighter. How many firefighters died? 343 firefighters.
That were running, Rob, running.
That ran up those stairs to save people's lives. Those are the true heroes, not Kamala Harris. It's not even Donald Trump. I love the guy, but he's not my hero. Those are the heroes that we need to remember and celebrate. And if there's anything that I can tell you guys, look at Jon Stewart and the work Jon Stewart has done on behalf of the firefighters and the first responders of 9/11, who continue to get medical coverage denied despite continuing to be diagnosed with cancers from inhaling the asbestos from the buildings. Christy Todd Whitman went out and told everybody days after the attacks, standing on the buildings that were smoldering, that it's safe to breathe in that air. And people went down there believing that woman to go save other Americans, and now they're sick and they can't get health care. And Jon Stewart went on Capitol Hill in front of Congress and said, we're fighting for these people to have better health care. And the members of Congress couldn't even bother to show up.
Yep.
They didn't even show up. Jon Stewart talked to empty chairs. Empty chairs, because our Congress, our Senate, they don't even give a fuck. So to all of you, you are more Americans to me and mean more to me than any administration ever will. And I think if we can get past this left-right bullshit and finally come to a center where we care about each other and not political ideation or ideology or affiliation, the country will be a better place for it, and we'll all have a better future.
Rob, one thing, the firefighters and the people who showed up would have done it even if they were told the air was toxic, but 23 years later, still being denied medical treatments while you have a presidential candidate promising taxpayer-funded trans surgeries to inmates. I mean, the insult could not be more deliberate if they tried. And just to add the most important one there, Building 7. Never in history has a steel skyscraper been burnt and collapsed as a result of fire, except the 2 buildings which got hit, which makes sense in theory. Building 7 makes much less sense, and it's never happened since.
Well, the Engineers Association said that it did not make sense that because the level of heat from the flames did not match up with the level of heat it takes.
Well, all I mean to say is between the 3 towers that fell that day, 2 got hit by planes. You can give the benefit of the doubt to there. Building 7, 12 hours later, when they said pull it, and it collapses, and never got hit by. But the fire and the water sprinklers were.
Or explain why they
of thermite.
why they found
military
thermite
grade
there.
Or the BBC reporting that the World Trade Center 7 had fallen while it's in the background and still there. They're talking about the building falling. They're like, oh yeah, Building 7. You could see it in the background. Wait a minute.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I'm speaking of your boy Larry Silverstein, he ate breakfast, I think, on the top of Tower 1.
Every day.
Every single day. But I got goosebumps. But that day, he was like, nah, I just didn't feel like
he had a dermatology.
He had an old ass dude had a dermatology appointment. It's absolutely ridiculous. But again, and you nailed it, Rob. The evil does its dirt. We don't know who the hell they are. But again, if you're a believer in God and you're a Christian, just know that. Listen, you can get upset. It's all good. The man upstairs will hold every single person accountable for what they do, so rest easy knowing that. But, guys, an amazing, amazing show. Connor, Brandon, Rob, I love you to death. David, Natalia, Jake. Who's in the back? Is it Jeremy? Jeremy, I love you too. To all our viewers, God bless you guys. Have a fantastic day. If you haven't subscribed yet, boom. That's where we are. And yes, I'm wearing my Angry Patriots shirt to take the jacket off because I was sweating and my hair looks like a freaking my hair's gonna look like yours soon.
Where could I get that shirt if I wanted to buy it?
You want to buy this shirt?
Funny you should ask, Rob.
What's in the back?
Yeah. What's it
I
say
think
there?
it's
the future looks
VT
bright.
merch.
The future looks bright. You go to vtmerch.com and get the shirt. And yeah, I gotta get a haircut. I think this is not.
You do not. Don't ever
All right,
cut
I'm
that
not gonna
beautiful
do it.
name.
But guys, I love you. Take care of each other, and we'll see you guys on Friday. Peace and love.